Test, test, test.
You got it. I'll make sure you have it.
Well, I just talked to her
Before
today.
That one's yours. Of the mail. Thank you. I ran out of time. I was waiting on this parking amenity, but
Yeah, I had that. I threw mine away.
they do have some pretty cool stuff. Every now and then I look through it. So yes.
No one?
But sometimes it's like, tell me to bring it. Yeah.
No, it won't be that bad. And we'll be,
I forgot my cushion.
let it all work.
Lori has cushions for us.
Any surprises?
I have no idea what's in there. Honestly.
Oh, you've already worked that out.
Yeah, I've already worked that out. Yeah.
So,
So you're good on that.
Yes, yes. And that's just raised higher, because could be even worse.
Yeah, we talked about that.
so that's all worked out. So I can just discard it. Yep.
Did you talk to the employees that were mentioned in there about all that?
I talked to him about that. I talked to him about better communication when we go there, say.
They hardly ever.
Providence.
Oh, that one. Oh, that's the Geiger Road one. Okay, that's so I know.
Do I have one?
Do you
Oh.
want, whoa, oh, I owe money. I must have. I'm the chairman. I'm waiting for somebody
I'm
to,
saying it's 5 o'clock.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
don't make me take my spot back.
Harley, take it from me.
Give me that gavel.
Everybody's looking at me like, what are they looking at? Why didn't somebody start this meeting? All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the Zephyrhills Community
Where's the gavel?
Redevelopment Agency meeting. It's 5:02. Can you hear me? Oh, I don't have a thing.
Bang that baby.
Okay. All right, call to order. Roll call. Lucy?
Stephen Spina,
Here.
Jody Wilkerson, Lance Smith,
Here.
Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Charles Proctor,
Here.
Melanie Monson,
Here.
Matthew Maggard, William Poe.
Thank you. We'll go right into the business items. We'll have business item 1.1, approval of the May 13th meeting minutes.
I'd move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion approved. Item 1.2, Zephyr Park Design Presentation by Kimley Horn.
Yes,
Gail,
good
are you-
evening.
Good evening.
We have with us James Panquin and Nick Guido. Nick Guido from Kimley Horn. They are going to present the updated design plan for Zephyr Park. The Parks and Rec Advisory Board in February voted to recommend moving forward. In some of the discussions that we had, CRA commissioners wanted to have input and wanted to see the final plan themselves, so James is presenting it to us tonight. So after the presentation, any questions? James and Nick are here to answer.
Thank you, Gail. For the record, James Pankinen with Kimley Horn and Associates. It's nice to be back in front of you all tonight. As Gail said, we are going to present and kind of walk you through the updated master plan that the Parks and Rec Advisory Board approved to move forward with as far as us preparing construction document proposal. And basically, generally, it's the approved plan that they have recommended. We've also, since we have done that back in February, and since we've prepared the construction document proposal for your consideration, we've also developed a 3D model in more detail of the site to kind of help walk you through the spaces. So we plan to walk you through those tonight and get your reaction and feedback to those as well. So just a quick recap, we did present the revised master plan to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board in February of this year. That plan was a result of some previous comments that we'd received from them. We took those comments into consideration, revised the plan, and that was presented. At the end of the meeting, they did have a motion to move forward with preparing detailed construction documents based on the updated plan. So we prepared the construction document and permitting proposal and have submitted that to the city. And that motion was passed with unanimous approval from the advisory board. Since that was done also, we have performed an assessment of the existing trees on site. We had an arborist go out in January and February of this year to do a detailed assessment of all the trees on site. We know that the trees are held, in very high regard from the community, so it's our intent to work with those and work those into the design. Based on his review, there were 4 trees that stood out as kind of being recommended for removal based on some rot and some structural issues. And those were kind of in different corners of the park. So it's not that if you take those out either that it would have a huge impact or kind of make a big dent in one portion of the park. But he did recommend removal of those. And then he said that with moderate pruning and limbing, the remaining about 97% of the trees would be considered low risk if that pruning and limbing and moderate structural pruning and upkeep was performed. So I think that's very positive news in terms of being able to keep the canopy structure that's there within the park, that's part of the community, and then allowing us to incorporate that into the design. As a quick recap, for the revised master plan that we did present in February, that was based on previous Parks and Rec Advisory Board comments that we received. Some of the specific comments that they had were they wanted to maintain the existing Veterans Memorial and incorporate that into the design. Maintain and really celebrate the existing WPA, the Works Progress Administration footbridge and fountain that are on site. And then also maintain the existing tennis courts. And so the revised plan keeps those and celebrates those within the master plan. Some general comments that they had were concern over long-term maintenance and upkeep of the park, opportunities for public art, and then also concern over water quality and water level within the lake. And so certainly the design that we do will be in collaboration with the city to address those first 2 items. We also had a task within the construction document proposal which would allow us to do some longer-term studies to really understand the water flow and the hydrology of the lake, what's happening from the surrounding community and how that's impacting it, and then ultimately maybe make some decisions that would affect potentially how we treat that water on site before it exits the site, like at Avenue C and some other areas before it goes into other areas of the county. So talking about the revised master plan, what's shown on the screen here represents what was presented in February. Very similar to what was presented before, but again, we did take into consideration how we show the Veterans Memorial areas, how we celebrate the WPA monuments, as well as obviously maintaining the tennis courts. But the master plan shows a lot of shaded gathering areas, walkways that really stitch the entire site together and create some key destination nodes throughout the park. So I'm going to point to this. I know that you can't see it on your screen. If you care to glance here, or for the benefit of people in the audience, the laser will point this out. But kind of starting off here, roughly this is the area where Alice Hall is located. I know that there's some discussions on should that stay or should that be replaced, and I think that's part of a broader plan that is being worked and developed with the community-wide master plan. So certainly this plan does not show Alice Hall in its current location, but it could be maintained. It could be replaced with a new facility in generally the same area. There's room within this plan and there's flexibility to accommodate that as the city would desire. In this area, there's a lot of existing large canopy trees, and so the intent was really to celebrate that and underplant it to create some shaded gathering areas here, as well as some sidewalks that tie to the broader sidewalk connectivity throughout the park. Moving kind of around towards the east, I'll sort of go counterclockwise here. A large gathering picnic area. We've got several spaces where that can occur. We know that some of the impromptu pickers events like to happen within the park where people play music, and so there's a lot of places where that could happen at the band shell, at this shelter, or at this one as well within the trees. So that, again, there's some built-in flexibility and opportunities for that. Continuing to move east, this is the area of the existing WPA footbridge and old fountain that's there. So we are kind of calling that the History Garden area, and have opportunities to enhance those or recreate those or provide signage that would kind of talk to the history there. Moving around, this is an existing splash pad, and so we're proposing to renovate that with a new splash pad as well as playground and create that as kind of the children's destination area, very convenient to parking. Also, you have some services there from the existing restroom and water facilities. So from an infrastructure standpoint, it kind of made sense to keep those facilities there because we can capitalize on reusing a lot of that. Moving around to the east, it kind of starts to pinch here between the edge of the lake and the property line. So one of the things that we did was created a boardwalk that would go out through the lake to make that connection, but also to really give people a different experience. So, you know, you could continue along the sidewalk there. It's fairly narrow, but we like the idea of creating a boardwalk and maybe some cypress trees that you could walk through, and it becomes kind of a forest through the water there. We've created a fitness zone here. That is really to replace the current fitness equipment that you have that's kind of spread out through the park. Currently, there's a lot of it located along the trail along this side. We've created that as more of a destination zone within the park here. I'll show you some renderings of that. And then over here, this is the existing Veterans Memorial area that we've kept and maintained, but also done some minor modifications to make it a little more prominent and to celebrate veterans and history a little bit more. We've created a large event lawn here. This is about 50,000 square feet, so that can handle many large events. That could also be, you know, right-sized and maybe scaled down a little bit, but, you know, certainly from movies in the park or concerts or something, that could, there's plenty of space within here to accommodate that. And that's kind of anchored by the band shell and restroom on the eastern side here. We've enhanced the parking in this area that you currently have some dirt parking. We're showing maybe cleaning that up and doing some paving within there, keeping the trees, but making it a little more efficient to park and pick up some spaces there as well. Continuing to move along, there's some existing horseshoes that we wanted to maintain. That's within the existing tree canopy there, and of course, sidewalk connecting all of that. So one thing you'll notice too is that there's a large green space and a large gathering area for events or performances. There's also a good mix of smaller areas that could be held for smaller events or just informal gatherings within the park. Moving along through the rest of the site, opportunities for public art at the lake overlook, and there's certainly opportunities that could be worked into any of the areas adjacent to the sidewalk as well. Some of the dark images that you see there, those represent picnic shelters, smaller scale. So that could be more for a family type picnic as compared to the larger scaled ones, which might be more group activity oriented. And then coming along Fifth Avenue, of course, you've got a very prominent view into the park and the lake, and we wanted to celebrate that with a bridge that would kind of serve as a focal point, drawing people's attention into the park. So with that, we want to just walk through the spaces in a little more detail. We're going to start off at the bridge that I just mentioned. These are a couple of pedestrian bridges that we did on other projects. So we would envision maybe something along those lines that help you know, create continuous connectivity through the park, but potentially providing shelter that serves as a focal point, gives a nice vantage point if you wanted to stop along the bridge there and view the lake in the background. You can see that we're proposing maybe some fountains that can help with just water quality and water circulation. And then, of course, you can see the sidewalks leading up to that. In this area here, where Alice Hall is generally in this area, again, you've got a lot of large existing canopy trees, so we wanted to have kind of a light footprint within that area, but provide some garden pathways and some underplanting, create some shaded seating areas like you see in the images here, and opportunities for overlooks out over the lake. Certainly, I think it's a great opportunity to have some sort of gateway signage from the parking lot into the park that could be at this location or this location, but really announce the, you know, the entrance into the park. And the architecture there is maybe something that is themed or draws upon some of the historic WPA stonework that you have existing on site. There's just another kind of close-up view of that. So you can envision parking and walking through this into the park to spend the afternoon. And then These would be some of the shaded picnic areas or gathering areas that are within that tree canopy area as you enter within the park. This area here, continuing to move again towards the east counterclockwise. These are your existing WPA monuments. Those are photographs of them up on the top there. And then the bottom image is kind of a similar thing at another park facility where they created a little more space around it and have some signage. So we would envision maybe doing something similar like that to kind of celebrate what you have here on site. So the image here shows the existing footbridge, maybe just doing that within a landscape treatment and having some signage that explains, what that was used for. And then this is the old fountain here, and again, just kind of creating that as a landmark within the park. And then having some trellis feature or pergola around the side with some signage maybe on the columns that helps explain that. It's interesting, we had a high school student in my office today who just graduated, and on my desk I had these renderings, and I'd asked him if he had heard of the WPA and what that was, and his answer was no. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for the city to be able to celebrate some of the history that you have, not only on site, but also within America. That was really a critical, timepiece within our history that doesn't appear to be getting a whole lot of attention in history classes these days. So talking to the WPA and the era, the Depression era, and how those opportunities put people to work and help build things, I think is a great opportunity that you have on site here. Moving around to the playground and splash pad area, again, this is where your existing splash pad is. We envision enhancing that with new playground features and new splash pads. We're showing some equipment here. Again, the design of this and the final equipment selection, we've got a lot of opportunity to make that final selection, but we would envision something that's grand and really a destination within the city for both the playground as well as the splash pad. So one of the things we also wanted to do was to make sure we provided stuff that we felt was complementary but not in competition with what we're doing at Hercules Park. And so again, the equipment selection, and in this case the splash pad especially, being maybe more kind of fun and playful versus some of the historical representation that we're doing at Hercules, I think would be a nice counterbalance to what we're doing at Hercules Park. But certainly creating a destination within the city. Another destination. The boardwalk crossing that I mentioned here, again, creating something that connects the park over the lake. We would envision something like this that maybe could be planted again with cypress trees on the side while creating some overlook spaces to view the lake and just have that different experience within the park that you don't have elsewhere. In this area here, we would envision the fitness equipment. Again, creating more of a cluster of that fitness equipment as opposed to several pieces spread along a linear length. We've been doing this more and more in other parks where we actually kind of create a zone of this, and it helps to just kind of create some synergy and some activity within the park as opposed to multiple pieces spread out over a long distance. So I think this could be a great area. We're showing it within the landscape. Of course, you could also do a shade structure over top for additional shade. There's a lot of options that you can do here. And then adjacent to that is the Veterans Memorial area. We anticipate maintaining what you have out there today, but maybe enhancing it with some additional areas for service branch medallions or memorials, but keeping what you have there, but really just creating an enhancement to that. And so then this also ties into the event lawn. As I mentioned, this is one of the larger event spaces. So the image that you see here with the people that are, watching a performance or something, that represents about 600 people. So you really have a space here that can accommodate quite a large gathering of people. This is maybe only a quarter or a third of who could fit in there comfortably. So we're showing a band shell on the far side there with restroom and facilities behind that, and then an additional larger shelter on the front side here. So again, lots of opportunities for performances and gatherings of different sizes. One of the questions or comments that came up in February from the advisory board was maybe adding an additional playground somewhere throughout the rest of the park. And so we're showing in the background here where that could be located. Again, this area is close to parking. This could just be another feature within the park, but might help create that other kind of secondary destination for play activities within there as well. So from a band shell performance standpoint, again, we would envision something that's slightly raised with covering, with audio-visual capabilities to be able to hook up equipment, but something that is, day-to-day, really just more of a covering as opposed to something that needs to be manned and operated day-to-day. So it kind of serves dual purpose there. And then finally, we have just a few overall views. So this is kind of looking towards the northeast, and again, you can see some of the smaller gathering areas on the bottom here. I think this demonstrates how the enhanced sidewalks and shelters really stitch the whole site together. You can see the event lawn and performance area in the center there, as well as the Veterans Memorial and Flag area, playground in the background. One of the things that we're showing here currently, if you kind of look at the screen, there's a fairly narrow band of water that travels through here. We know that the area, again, is prone to really fluctuating lake levels. Those can be low, those can be high. So in this case, we're showing an area that could be utilized for some floodplain compensation for those times of high water. Again, that's, I think, part of the final recommendation there would come as a result of that task that we have in the construction documents. Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question about that? So you're talking about that area, the second ring to the left of the lawn area.
Yeah, if you peek here, I'm kind of highlighting the area here that we scooped out from current upland. That would really be in this area.
Oh, and that
Yes.
north of that, or
Here? That's really just small gathering area with pathways and open space in between.
not there now, is it?
That is there now, yes. Yeah, yes, sir.
The land's there, the sidewalk is not.
Correct.
Looks awful narrow. Top part. I guess my question is, will that area sometimes flood and that be okay?
Yeah, so that's a good point. That's a good question. One of the things that we've talked about until that flood study is completed is really being smart about where we put anything permanent. So where we're showing the playground and some of these other things, we feel is a little more, I think, high and dry consistently. So that's why we sort of push those to those area. This area would probably be part of further study. It would probably stand to reason that as we maybe lower this and create this area for some compensation, that if this was prone to flooding, that would tend to take up this area first before it maybe overtopped that. But again, the whole shape of that, I think, is still flexible enough that we could, make some determinations there. Yes. Here's kind of another view looking towards the event lawn in the background, and again, that compensation area is in the foreground in this view. Two of the existing bridges that you have on site connecting over the water, we would envision replacing those with a boardwalk structure consistent with what we're doing further to the northeast. Another view there. And then kind of a view looking the opposite direction with the playground and the splash pad in the foreground. We know, given the proximity to 4th Street, we do have a fence that's proposed around the playground and the splash pad to help keep the people contained, the kids contained and safe, of course, from the street as well as the parking. So we want to make sure we're providing a nice, safe atmosphere for everybody. So as far as next steps then, again, the construction document and permitting proposal has been submitted pending review and approval or further comments. Once that was authorized, we would begin design and engineering. We have a lot of steps still built in to be able to come back and present updates to you. One of the things that we would envision is, as we move through 30s and 60s and 90% documents, coming back to you for updates as requested. The 3D model that we built that I just showed you, we'd like to update that along with any changes that happen during those milestone submittals. That way you're always able to really have a clear vision of what's actually being proposed. We didn't have that within the scope of Hercules. We did site plan updates, but not the modeling. So I think that would be a great benefit to just make sure that you're in tune with any changes and with the current design. So we would envision going through our schematic design 30% documents, and that would include an update to the city. A construction manager selection, we like that to happen typically between 30 and 60%. That way, they're in early enough to give us good pricing feedback, but not in too late to where we can't make changes on the plan. So we've really found that between 30 and 60 is a pretty good sweet spot to have them get engaged with us. Design development, 60% documents. Again, we would come back to give you an update. Typically, that's when we make our first permitting submittals to SwiftMud and to the city for site plan approval, and then incorporate those comments into our 90% and 100% final construction documents prior to beginning construction. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to any questions or comments, or Gail, any? Okay.
Start with you.
So, in the pictures, I saw some fountains in the waters. Is that a plan of action to put some in there to get some movement out there?
Yeah,
For sure.
That was the thought. I think it does a couple of things. It helps with water circulation
Yeah.
and just keeping.
We need that.
Keeping things fresh.
Okay,
Also, it can be a really cool thing if we light it so that it's lit at night, and it just
Yeah.
kind of creates a,
agreed.
another level of interest there.
Perfect. And then, I know we're way soon on how much this is going to cost for sure, but are we going to have a plan of action, like a phase-in plan of action, if we can't do this all at once?
Billy, I'm shaking my head.
Yeah.
But, I will tell you that we had to come up with a number to do a design.
Sure.
We had to come up with something. Hercules is $7.5 million. The scale of this is 10 million, is what we're looking at. I can go up or down, but we're spending $7.5 million on Hercules, which is half the size of Zephyr Park. The idea behind Zephyr Park also is that it retains that natural Florida feel. We've tried to, maneuver and make sure that the trees are saved, the natural contour of the land is saved, and that it becomes this great place to go, take your family, and it's, from the pictures you can see, it would be a great place to take a walk in the afternoon or at lunch or, whatever. So, yes, we have to find the money. We have to find the money.
So really, even though this is not a build from scratch, it's still going to be more? You feel like it's going to be a lot more, even though it's not a build from scratch? Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of new there.
There is a
That's- I
lot
mean,
of
there's
new
a lot
there,
of-
yeah.
And there's a lot of old that needs,
Okay. Can we bring up the picture of, the first picture of the diagram?
The site plan?
Yeah, the site plan. Only because I just had a question. At the very back, where it's C Avenue, where there's little parking back there now, right? Is there anything planned for back in that area? I couldn't quite figure that one out. I got a little sidetracked.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on it in this parking area. Right now, you've got some existing
Yeah.
dirt parking there in and amongst the trees. We would envision formalizing that a little bit so that we can maybe make it a little more efficient and put cars where we want them. We want to make sure that we are doing the right things for those trees long-term. So part of the parking layout and strategy would be to address that. There's existing horseshoe pits here, and we would
Yeah.
envision keeping those. We know, I think one of the things that we heard in the community meetings was that there's a strong group that really likes to use those. So we would envision, cleanup and kind of enhancement around that area.
Okay, good.
And then some other shelters and other just sidewalk connectivity adjacent to there.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Perfect. So far that,
And let me say one other thing about money, because money is a big thing in the end. We are sitting around a table talking about this. We have not bid it. We've not, contractors not seen it. We don't have plans. The idea that, about phasing was the idea that we would do the construction plans, and if we had the money to do the front half, we do the front half. And we save up our money and we do the back half. or whatever, however that lays out. But to get to that point, we have to have a plan. We have to have construction documents. The other thing is, you know, when you look at that, then the idea is, well, every time the contractor comes back, you're paying for him to, what's that called?
Remobilize? Yeah.
Mobilization. So there'll be some additional cost in that way, but maybe that's the way we have to do it. Zephyr Park is our crown jewel. It's the center of the downtown and the neighborhoods. If I look at the surrounding areas, and I'm speaking as the CRA, as I look at the surrounding areas, those are the investment that we make there will come back to us in the surrounding areas. And so it's a, you know, we put it up or we build this and then we see the fruits of our labors and the improvement of the neighborhoods. So.
Yeah, I'll maybe just add too, on the pricing and the phasing, I think that's why it's really important to have the construction manager on board for that 30% pricing, because we all know just how crazy pricing still is and construction costs, and they're able to take it and get it to the subcontractor communities and actually get us good pricing versus just budget numbers. Okay, so that'll help make those decisions.
I have one more thing. I knew I was going to think of something else. I apologize. So, you know, the money that we used out at Hercules, that was ARPA funds. You know, we didn't have to find that money, right? So we have to remember that, that we didn't have to.
Fell in our lap.
That kind of, that fell to us, which is a.
We still have some ARPA funds that we're using on this.
Good, yes, a little, yeah, about 100,000, 120 or something. Oh, 800, okay,
Yeah,
good. Okay, 800, okay.
That's close to
good.
900.
Okay, that's good. All right, perfect.
Oh, yes, thank you. First off, where are the bathrooms? Let me make sure there's, point to them for me if
I'll
you could.
never live that down from Hercules.
You're right about that.
So we have restrooms located here, and that's kind of similar or close location to where that existing splash pad is. And per my previous comment, one of the reasons, obviously, we've got a lot of play in children there, so that's a logical place. If you have a splash pad, you need to have a restroom within 200 feet, so that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of infrastructure that we can capitalize on that's existing that we can tie into. So we have one located there, and then we have another one located sort of at the back of the band shell over in this area that could serve, you know, partially for the events and some of the other things. So that was added, I think, after some point, Gail, but one of the comments was additional restrooms, so that was added over in that area.
I think that's smart to have them
Yeah.
in different areas too. And was there any thought into like an area where food trucks could come in or anything like that?
Yes, I think there's a number of places that can happen. Oftentimes, we'll do it on the side of a parking area like this. So if you could envision food trucks there, that's in close proximity to an event that you might have going on here. We could also design the sidewalks heavy duty enough to be able to
Where you could
accommodate
pull
food
one on
trucks,
there.
where they could pull in. Actually, at a park that we did in Marco Island, we did power pedestals and water pedestals around the event lawn, and food trucks pull up to that and they can plug in. So there's a lot of flexibility there that we could do. I think you could have them over here. Really, I think anywhere where you have parking, you could have food trucks, or any part within the park that you wanted to make sure we have heavy-duty pavement for them to get to, we could accommodate that. Sometimes it's nice to have that flexibility in different locations.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart. And then in the middle, the gray squares kind of what was that again?
So diagrammatically on this plan, that's just, we have flowering trees.
Oh, okay.
Those are purple circles, not gray squares. It's kind of hard to see with the resolution, but we just envisioned that as kind of a flowering tree grove. That's a really nice focal point across the lake, and then kind of frames a potential location there for public art.
Right, and I think it looks good, and I think we need to think about phasing for a couple of reasons. One is, if we did all of it at once, I'm assuming the park would just be basically shut down during the construction time. So maybe phasing isn't a bad thing to think about, because at least we could leave half of it open.
Yeah, I think that's another real benefit to having a construction manager is they can help us kind of lay out a sequencing plan where they need to work in this area, and because of that, they need to close down these areas for access and keeping safety and everything. But vehicular and pedestrian maintenance of traffic during construction will be critical, and having a construction manager help us with that would certainly benefit, yeah.
Right. I like the layout. I like trying to keep it fairly simple. I like if we can use as much Florida-friendly landscaping as possible to make maintenance down the road much, much easier. So, I like the overall layout.
Yeah, I think the phasing is important on this. And as I look at this, like you said, kind of keeping it simple. So the reaction from the community was they really liked what was out there. They just kind of wanted it to be enhanced. So I think you've hit on all those things. I also like that if you're going to do a renovation, I think it's important to have at least one new thing, and I like that boardwalk idea. I think that'll be kind of cool too. But as far as the phasing is concerned, a lot of it is really pouring sidewalks and landscaping. That's something that every time we come to a phase, we could just rebid it. It doesn't have to be all up front. So who knows, might even be able to save some money that way because come at it different angles. So I think that's important, the phasing part of it. And I like you've taken what we have, enhanced it, and then gave us a new feature too. So.
And let me just say one other thing. One of the things that we talked about as James was designing this and with the community input was creating iconic picture locations, where people would want to come and have pictures taken. Whether it's, I'm here on vacation, it's my 16th birthday, or it's my grandmother's 90th birthday. There's locations in the park for you to memorialize your life in the city's park, which we thought was really important.
Yeah. How did you, when you figured out this layout, which I like, it looks great, what number did y'all start with to drop these plans? You had to start with a number somewhere. So you're saying it was that $10 million was the number?
To be honest with you, Commissioner Proctor, we didn't start with a number in mind. We just designed it and looked at some things and said, yeah, that's just not us. That's too much, or it's, it won't fit in the park. And what you see is really what we designed. When we started looking at it, that's the number we kind of used Hercules, and I'm just speaking for myself as staff on this, and what I kind of relayed to James was $10 million is, the city's not going to spend any more than that. We've spent $7.5 million on Hercules. I think we can get this done for 10. Now, we may find out that it doesn't cost 10.
Yeah.
We may find that it's less. That is just a number, and until we get the plans done and we put it out, we don't know.
It's never less.
Yeah.
It's never less.
But some of the things at Hercules are concrete buildings and different things that we're not replicating here. So, there is a lot of open space. There is a lot of, concrete sidewalks and things, but I don't know. I can't price anything, so.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with what you say. But.
Well, and I have a question for Billy. I knew we had somewhere close to just under $1 million set aside already for the park, correct?
Correct.
900.
We have about 900,000 in ARPA funds, and then there was 600,000 from the state appropriation that we received last year.
And we didn't receive it, unfortunately, we didn't receive anything this year.
This upcoming, correct.
That's,
So we have close to about $1.5 million for Zephyr Park right now.
Right.
ARPA has to be spent by next June, right? A year from now?
It has to be encumbered by December 31st. I'm not sure the actual expenditure date.
Okay. And
But
then
it has
what
to be
about
encumbered by the end of the year.
What about the appropriation?
This can't be the same.
No, it's October, isn't it?
It'd be
There
July.
usually the state is July, June or July.
It'd be
so-
July 1, I think, of this upcoming year. I'll have to verify. I need to look at that contract. I don't know what that
Those
date
monies
is.
are in this current budget, and you'll carry those over, and then So one, can the ARPA money be used for design and those types?
Yes.
All right, so we can spend that on this.
Right.
And I also agree that doing this in phases is gonna be the only way we really could do it without, like Commissioner Smith said, we don't wanna shut the park down completely. But I really love the plan, and I think when it's done, it'll be a great destination, another great destination in our city.
Funding-wise as well, we don't have $10 million laying around just to
Yeah.
make the improvement. So funding-wise, we're going to have to
The
phase it
main
in as
goal,
well.
also, I'd like to be able, we should spend the money that we have to spend by a certain time so that we don't lose it.
Yeah, our plan is to spend, Gail's really, really good at spending every penny. So, well, she'll get it spent.
Throwing Gail into the bus, huh?
No, in all seriousness, yes, there are deadlines. The ARPA funds is December 31st. It has to be encumbered.
Good.
So that has been the direction. And so part of the budget process is we'll have to get council to approve spending those ARPA funds, directing staff to spend those funds on Zephyr Park, and then we can go through the process.
I believe that we can also apply for other grants, and I'm sure you're going to. And hopefully, if we apply next year, it won't get stricken, so.
Hopefully.
So, and one other thing, because we talk about a lot lately about timing and schedules. So, James, how long does we say go till we have construction documents, a construction manager at risk? How long?
Yeah, so I'd probably envision to get through permitting and the 100% construction documents, it's probably a 9 to 12 month process to get permit approvals and pricing and all of that. So we would certainly provide a more detailed schedule for that, but that's typical for a park this size. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a couple things.
We have time to apply again for
Right.
state appropriations, other funding. We can start working on finding money while he's doing that.
I like it. I think that there's a lot of good features there. I have a question about, since this doesn't show the Alice Hall Community Center, are there plans for a community center elsewhere that won't be part of this?
As part of the park's master plan, we told the consultants, we have to have a community center. The community wants a community center. From the comments that they got back from the survey and the online survey that was done, they will make a recommendation to us on where the community center should go. I asked for 2 recommendations for them to provide to us.
Now, will the master plan also include, or is this kind of excluded from the master plan in terms of new playground equipment and things since we're doing the master plan? Or are you combining,
Once you approve it, they'll take the equipment that's in here and add it to the master plan.
So the master plan will kind of dictate some of the things that we'll add in here. Okay. And then one last thing. We are changing or eliminating some of the, and we've talked about this before, like the historic kind of prominent citizen names of places like the B.Y. Wickstrom Stage, the Alice Hall Building, the Irene Dobson. We would like some of the names preserved. They can be on different things or different places, but that's just something that I think we need to think about in
I think
terms
that's
of
a
our.
great idea. I think that's a great idea, that we can use them inside the new park and give new names to, we have lots of opportunities for naming rights inside the park.
My final thing is, I like it, I won't make you go back, but when you show the WPA crossover and the fountain, and then you show how they can be enhanced, I think we see things and we kind of get used to how they look, and then you can see what they can look like. I mean, it's amazing. So those are really nice in terms of making this more of a showcase, so.
I was really impressed with that. I think the community will be.
You brought up a really good point about Alice Hall. That thing is so well used. We almost better have another Alice Hall before that one
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Something.
definitely.
Goes. I mean, because that
idea.
Alice Hall, I looked at the calendar, it's booked all the time.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, we
if
have
I
to,
may.
that's an important thing.
I've never been real big on tearing it down from where it's at. I mean, it's been there for a long time and it is well used. I understand fixing it up, painting it, repairing, whatever, but I mean, I would hate to see it taken down. It's been there a long time. And, that's just my opinion, but
Okay.
anyway.
All right. Has anybody signed up, Lucy, to speak? Or do we do that here? Or? No? Would anyone like to speak? Sure. Come ahead, come to the podium, please.
Do I need to say my name and
Yes.
address for the record? Shane Barker, 14232 17th Street, Dade City. So thank you all for supporting this. I don't think I heard one, critique like this is too much or we can't do this. I agree with Gail. This is a crown jewel. This is amazing. I appreciate the feedback that's obviously been retooled, and you took the words out of my mouth. I think, I don't think the city needs to invest in, like there's a kitchen in Alice Hall, but we don't need concession stands or things of that nature. But how easy is it to put the power and the water for food trucks at the parking spaces? The event lawn, yes, that's going to be the big pull. But you've got small event areas kind of all over. So I think to have food trucks that could, hit all spots, sidewalks that would, support food trucks, I think would be amazing. As far as the history goes, Tampa River Walk has a lot of placards along the Tampa River Walk that, speak to history and speak to names. I think we could do more of that. Technology for phones and I don't know what they call it, but having the ability to have, I know QR codes are probably going to be dead in 5 years, so I'm on record saying they're never going to die. But to have something where you can kind of tell stories and do like a virtual, historical walk through town, through the park, mentioning these things, I think would be really, really great. What is the sidewalk that kind of goes into I wasn't here for the whole presentation, forgive me. The sidewalk that runs right into the lake there, is that a kayak launch or what is that?
Oh, I think you're talking about here?
Uh-huh.
Just a viewpoint, a vantage point.
Okay, so that'll be blocked off. You're not gonna, it's not a ramp into the lake.
We didn't envision that as a launch. No.
Okay. All right, that was all my comments. Thank
All
you,
right.
Lance, for bringing up the food trucks, and I just think we can, use history in different ways, cheap, to make it a permanent thing there. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Gail, anything else, or James? All right, thank you very much.
Good evening. Kim Barker, Vitus Realty. I live at 14232 17th Street in Dade City, but I do own a real estate brokerage that has deep roots here in East Pasco, and Zephyrhills means the world to me. So let me first of all thank you all from the bottom of my heart for the investments that you're making in the downtown district. I know it's unrelated to our presentation tonight, but I think the home theater is going to be a game changer for the historic part of our city, and I'm super excited about that. But that is on the east side of 301. So we need something really desperately need public investment on the west side of 301, and Zephyr Park is the opportunity for that. I'm very excited to see the plans and amenities that are being considered. I don't see a community center here, but strongly agree that that needs to be included in the project. I've heard a lot of talk about phasing and money, and I don't think that there were phases for Hercules Park. Am I wrong?
No. At Hercules, we had a lump sum
got
of money in the
Right.
pot to do it.
Okay.
This will probably come from different pots.
Okay. So I know Hercules Park is smaller too, but this could be, it is, but it really has the potential to be the crown jewel for the historic downtown district. It's over 60 acres of green space. And I know that the lake isn't spring-fed, it's man-made, but we can make it beautiful. you know, and this is really an opportunity for the public investment to lead the private investment. As a city, we have made investments in some parks recently. The Rising Tide, it built a beautiful tennis center, and it's building an amazing Hercules Park. But this is where it's going to float all boats. So I would strongly encourage you to prioritize the financing of this however you need to, and if it's in, let's make it two. Let's make it front phase and back phase. And I thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Gail?
So staff will bring back the proposal for the actual construction document. Staff is reviewing it right now. So that's what I heard, correct? Okay.
Okay, next item is 1.3, residential paint grant for Richards Alba.
Yes, we have the paint grant. If you'll remember, the Albas and the Richards also, and I wrote it wrong in my backup. It's Richards, Alba Richards. They're painting the house. If we can.
Thank you.
They're spending $800 on paint. The paint grant only provides for paint, so the grant itself would be $400 because it's matching. We match up to $500. The computer does not show the colors.
That one right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, scroll down.
This the one?
Scroll. Will it let you scroll? That's okay. There you go.
Oh, there it
There's
is.
the house. They purchased it. They also received one of our homeowner incentive grants, and so now they're going back making repairs to the house. And the grant meets all guidelines, and so staff recommends approval.
Okay. Any discussion on the commission? Is there a motion?
I move for approval of business item 1.3.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, nays? No nays? Okay.
Okay, our next grant is Amber Bruce for Salon on Fifth. It's a matching facade rehabilitation grant. She is leasing the building at 5126 7th Street. It includes ramp, painting, repairs on the exterior. All repairs are on the exterior. I do not have a construction contractor's notes, so I do have the project description, but because she does not own the property, they will be required to hire a contractor, and once the job is done, we'll use those contractors' invoices for payment. It does meet all of the criteria, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, so this would be $10,200 project, and they are awarded how much?
$5,000.
$5,000. Okay, any comments from the,
And what'll happen, since there was no estimate or anything, once the work is done, invoices will be submitted, and it'll be paid on a 50% basis?
That is
Okay.
correct.
I would move approval of this item up to, what, $5,000.
Second.
all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye, okay, no nays. Thank you. Next item is matching commercial facade grant.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, CRA Commercial Improvement Grant.
Yes. I'm trying to make the commercial grants easier, and we've not received Amber's commercial grants, the first grant we've received in over a year. So having, one of the things that in talking to businesses is $5,000 is not enough to do anything on the exterior of their building. And they would really like to see interior improvements so that they can meet ADA, they can meet, you know, if they want a coffee shop, a restaurant, something like that, that they can meet the code, the current city code. We would also like to include I'm sorry, are you looking at me? They'd also like to include, utilities would like us to include grease traps. Grease traps are an issue right now for utilities, and making sure that all businesses that use grease, restaurants, ice cream, anything that produces grease that's going into the system, that they have a grease trap or an under the sink sinkerator. So because the grease traps will probably be used mostly individually, not as part of an overall grant, we have put a cap on the grease traps at $5,000. But if they included it or combined it with the other items that are eligible, they could get up to 20. It's just how much improvements are they making. So this is a draft. I thought we would have time to talk about it, but I'm looking at the clock behind us. And if you want to review it and me bring it back next month, we can do that, so I can answer your questions. So if I can get a motion to table it.
I would move to table this item for further discussion.
All
Second.
those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All those, no nays. I have one question. Will this be effective October 1st that it goes to 20,000?
Yes, it would go, it would be October 1.
All right, okay, thank you.
The next item is parking lots. The CRA has been looking for the use of public parking lots. As we start doing more events at Zephyr Park, and once we get the improvements made on the other side of Fifth Avenue, we are going to need more public parking. We cannot continue to live off of the parking that we currently have. So what I'm asking tonight is, I have two locations, the Baptist Church parking lot and the People's parking lot that's on 5th at the corner of 5th and 6th. And then the First Baptist Church parking lot. If you agree, the First Baptist parking lot pays no taxes. We wouldn't pay any taxes. We would handle the maintenance and the liability insurance. On Mr. Peoples' parking lot, it's $1,400 a year. We would pay the taxes. We would reimburse him the taxes. He would pay the taxes and we would reimburse. But we would pay the maintenance on it. But they would be signed as public parking. So if there's an event like the event that's coming up for 4th of July, the Summerfest, if we had that parking lot, people would be able to use that parking lot. Parking is going to be an issue again. So what I'm asking is, are you interested, and could you direct City Attorney Matt Maggard to develop an agreement for these two lots, and we'll bring it back to you.
I think it's a good idea but do people park there now for events?
They won't let them park
They
at the
won't let them
Baptist
park
Church.
at all? Okay.
Do I think that there's that many that park at Mr. Peoples? As we develop the businesses across the street where the Frozen Spoon is and the Luscious Lashes, the Lash Place, that they have an opportunity to, they have an issue. The Frozen Spoon has an issue with parking right now. We could sign it and people could park there and walk across the street.
Something is making me think that the city was the one who improved that parking lot anyway.
You were. I think
So
you were.
did we not have an agreement in place at that time? So didn't we have an agreement at that time for the public to be able to park there that was recorded?
You did, but when I came as the city, as the CRA, I terminated the agreement because I didn't see public purpose. I see public purpose now. It's only been 10 years. So yes, we were doing the exact same thing.
We paid the taxes back then too, didn't
Yes.
we? Yeah.
It was a reimbursement.
Yeah, we did did we reimburse just the city or all of them? All the county and city?
All of them. We paid his tax bill. It runs about last year was $14.57.
Just the parking lot?
just the parking lot.
Wow, thank.
Costs us money.
I thought so too.
Hate to say.
On a vacant lot, yeah.
Any comments or motion?
Shall we do,
I used that parking lot just the other day to go somewhere else. I mean.
Well, that's what I'm kind of
there's
thinking.
no
People are
restrictions on
using it kind of right.
no, but there will
I mean,
be
there
a
could be.
time when
I just wondered
he's
about.
not going to let us use it.
Yeah, I just wondered about the one for the church, because that's kind of in the back, out of the way. I mean, it's behind,
Are you talking about the grass one or the?
no, it's paved
Paved
over
one
on Fifth
that's up next
Street.
to the building.
I think it'd be good for people from Zephyr Park area to use it, but downtown, it won't help downtown people.
Well,
It's going to
once-
help,
Right.
when
Well-
you do the landscape and,
We'll be able to put up signs saying public parking that point that way. And as we start doing events on that side of the 301, I think that we will be able to use that parking.
I think as you investigate it, you probably need to think about signage because people aren't going to know that they could park
Right.
there or whatever, so.
I agree.
can we think about this and bring it back next month also?
I think it's worth looking into, but I.
Right, but I think there's a lot of questions yet on it.
Right, right.
Right.
we're
So
at a-
can we at least direct Matt to look into it and answer legal questions that he may have?
Yeah, and bring it back and we can talk about it then?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Do we need a motion or?
Yes, can we have a motion to?
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to table this item.
No, we're having Matt look at it.
Oh, I mean, excuse me, to have Matt look at it and then you're gonna bring it back to us.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, no nays, okay,
Right.
approved. Tina and Joe's agreement?
Yes, next item is the lease for the bottom floor of the carriage house. Staff was contacted by Amanda Ramirez? Roman, if I'm saying that correct. Joe had contacted her about providing a produce stand on the bottom floor of the carriage house. The current lease with Tina and Joe LLC says that it was originally contemplated in the original contract that as part of leasing the Jeffries house, they would have the bottom floor of the carriage house to use to promote their products. Tina's salad dressing, other produce, plants, makers, things. That's what it was contemplated. They didn't have, Tina's niece had a produce stand in there for a year or so. It didn't work. I don't know why. It closed, and so now Joe is coming forward and Amanda is coming forward asking for a lease for the bottom floor of the carriage house. I don't have a copy of the lease. We went back and forth. Matt was involved as well. If you look on the consent form, it says they have a verbal lease. So there's some things that we need to straighten out is one, if you want to allow it, 2, hours of operation, all of those things that need to be, and how much, because if the original lease contemplated the second floor, if they rented the second floor, the city got 90% of the proceeds of the second floor of the carriage house. That didn't really work out, and so we put Main Street is in there now. So those are the things that I need to ask you, and Joe and Amanda are here tonight to answer any questions. So staff is looking for direction.
Well, for me, I'd like to see the contract. I mean,
You can answer questions. If you'll introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Joe. Joe Novak. It's Amanda.
Amanda?
well, is there a contract, is the contract done?
I don't, as far as the contract between Amanda and Joe, I don't
No,
have
no,
one.
no, I mean the contract that Matt's gonna be writing for it. You said Matt was gonna be doing a,
No, Matt was just answering questions. He talked to Amanda, so
oh,
we
okay.
didn't.
Okay, so let me, so you would like to carriage house to Amanda, and you have to have a contract, and we have to agree to it. Is that basically what we're doing?
That is correct.
And you don't have a contract yet, or?
Yeah, we just kind of had like a verbal type thing, putting his product into the building, him using some of the coolers for excess overflow for whatever he needed, and things like that. And it's kind of just a piggyback to, he had already, I guess it was already put in his contract for him to have the produce stand. So it was kind of just, Bobby Joe and Jeremy couldn't keep it, so we were just gonna try to do it. My dad, honestly, volunteered time working down there, so kind of brought back to, I own a mobile produce. We go out to like the 55 and over parks, so it's kind of like Dad wanted to connect with Joe to keep that going for the city, to, bring the nice environment down there, as well as keeping our mobile produce going.
Okay. You have to have a contract between them in order for us to approve it?
Correct. Yeah.
Can I just say something? And I'm not sure. First off, the restaurant's awesome. We love having it downtown. It's great. I wish we could get you to where you had dinner, because it's and I understand why, because we're in there. It's a great atmosphere there. Just a very nice place. I'm not sure why we limited the rental of the. First off, I don't even know why we asked you to lease out the carriage house for the city. I'm not sure. I think it made sense at the time, but it might not make sense now. I think having a produce stand down there would be great, but I mean, I don't know what incentive, having a restaurant, that's a full-time job right there. You don't need to be worried about leasing out the carriage house, in my opinion, and this is my opinion only. So I was just thinking, I was like, why should we look to Tina and Joe's to lease out the carriage house? Shouldn't that be a function of the city, be it to you or whom, fine. But it just didn't make sense for a restaurant owner to be a property manager in my mind, and I don't know why we did that initially.
Especially in light that we've taken over the top.
Yeah, the bottom one is like 400 square foot.
Right, a small thing. So, I mean, that's just my thoughts. And my sister has a produce stand. It's a very difficult business, especially during the summertime. You have a lot of waste with the produce. So why we limited it to produce, and I looked at the lease, I'm like, why did we do that? But I think the idea was at the time to put some product from that. But be it whoever, I mean, I don't have a problem with leasing it to you or whomever, but I just don't know that we should ask Joe to be the property manager. That's, quite frankly, I mean, I think we should have whomever goes in there get with you and say, hey, are you good? Because you don't want many Tina and Joe's behind you selling, product. But I think we maybe should run, if you're fine with this person, maybe we modify the lease to where the city takes back over the leasing of the carriage house, so you don't have to mess with it. Just that was my thought.
Well, I kind of agree with that, because I'm trying to think back too. I think originally it was going to be the restaurant plus the bottom floor was going to be kind of part of the restaurant, selling like the salad dressings and the soups or something like that too. Right. So I understand it. And then the top part was, you were also going to lease that too, but the city was going to generate some revenue off of that, which I still think we need to be looking at doing. So, and then I kind of agree with you that if the restaurant and the produce stand is not really working out, then why would you want to still be involved? And I think that's kind of like what you were saying. Why would you? I get that, but I mean, and there's a percentage there that we get. I don't remember the exact numbers, but from the restaurant, with the agreement with you, and that is part of it too. Is that correct? So I kind of agree with
So we can modify the lease and remove the bottom floor of the carriage house if you want, if that's what I'm hearing.
Well, and I think whoever, but the thing is, I think it should be some, use that's compatible with Tina and Joe's, you know?
Right.
You know,
Well, and I kind of go with Commissioner Proctor. I don't think we can really make a decision on anything unless we see some kind of the numbers and all the agreements and stuff. We can't just go by,
Right.
no matter what we do.
It's doing nothing but costing me money. I mean, keeping the lights on and electric on,
Yeah.
the water heater running, I mean, it's minus in my book.
So are you good, are you good with that, Joe?
making anything off of it, so.
and it seems like,
You can make a dollar.
to me, it'd be a headache. I didn't even realize that it's costing you money, so,
Oh,
so.
yeah. Every month.
And you want to get in there. You don't want to wait.
Well, that's why I figured get her in there. I mean, I'd be happy if somebody just be, pays the water bill, the electric bill, and
Which we had to
take
do.
the insurance.
Then can we do something where we can rewrite it and bring it back July 8th, which is as soon as we can do it probably, so they're not waiting a whole month and
So tell me what am I writing up? I'm confused. Are we writing up a contract for,
Two things, we need to have modified Joe and Tina's lease to allow him not to have to worry about the carriage house. Second thing would be, we'd have to provide a lease between the city and whatever your entity's name is.
Okay.
And
Makes better sense.
And then the only thing we need to think about too is the electricity is coming off of your.
Right.
So there needs to be something in there about that. So, I mean, there's.
Right, which I had agreed to pay that part, just.
Right, so
through
what
him.
needs to be
can
happening, some
change the meter,
compensation needs
yeah.
to go to you because it's providing electricity for that space. And water.
there is different meters, yes.
Okay, do I hear a motion to that effect then?
I don't know how to make that motion.
Yeah.
We'll move to modify the lease and then
Bring it back.
try and enter into a lease with, what was the name of your company?
It's Heavenly Harvest Farmers Market.
Okay, that's direction. Okay.
All right, and then can we bring it back July 8th so that they're not waiting a month or have a special
We can do
meeting?
that. We can do that. Can't we, Matt?
Yeah, otherwise it'll be a whole nother month.
Yeah.
Our next meeting, next CRA meeting's July 20-something, so we can at least get it.
Yes, we can do it at the first meeting in July.
And our city attorney's heard the concerns and he understands
All
the
right, good.
direction
All
we
right,
want to move in.
All right, thank you. All right,
Right.
we'll do it, all right. And we'll
Thank you,
get a
guys.
copy to you.
Thank
so-
you.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, CRA Director's Report.
So due to the time, since the CRA has run over, what I will do is I have my report done. I will email it to you, and I'll also have Antoine email his report to you as well, so you know current activities.
All right.
And that is all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, final item is citizens' comment. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment? No? Okay, then I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5
minutes? 5-minute break.
I didn't know.
I thought, just